Welcome back to Where Are They Now here at Jazz FM 91. This is a digital feature where we get to catch up with some of the alumni who have been through our education outreach programs. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Virginia MacDonald, and I'm going to let you all know a little bit about Virginia if you don't already know. Virginia is a Juno Award-winning clarinetist who has established herself as a leading voice of this generation. Known for her lyrical and dynamic approach to the clarinet, she has been described by legendary clarinetist Doreen Ketchens as playing like a scholar, very refined with plenty of soul. As an in-demand bandleader, sidewoman, and composer, she maintains a busy international performance schedule across North America and Europe, regularly appearing at renowned venues such as Birdland, Smalls, Ronnie Scott's, Lombards. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. My French isn't great. And Dizzy's, as well as her festival appearances. They span the globe with performances at the Detroit, Rochester, Torino, Montreal, and Toronto Jazz Festivals, among others. Virginia was born and raised here in Toronto, and the Canadian clarinetist now resides in New York and has made some time to join us to catch up on all that she has been up to, including the release of her debut album, In Search Of. Virginia, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's good to be back. It's good to be here.
It's been 3 years?
3 years since I did the Discover Women in Jazz series.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, but yeah.
Amazing. So we got a little bit of time. So if you're cool with it, I'd like to jump all the way back to your childhood.
Okay.
Yeah. So you come from a musical family.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit how that has sort of formed your path in music?
Yeah, so I definitely kind of came up in an artistic family. My mom is also a visual artist.
Amazing.
And my dad, as many listeners might know, is a saxophone player, Kirk MacDonald. So I was listening to music at a very, very early age. And I started playing music as well, very young. I picked up the clarinet when I think I was 6.
Amazing.
And what I always tell people is like, I just saw it and I fell in love with it. Like I was obsessed with, like, I thought they were buttons at the time, the keys. I just thought it was like a beautiful instrument, and my fingers actually weren't big enough to cover the tone holes at first, but I was so obsessed with the clarinet for whatever reason that I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait. And so I've been playing it since. I went to a really great community music school here in Toronto, the Humber College Community Music School. And that was great. Like at the time, we would meet every Saturday, and you got a chance to play in an ensemble. And just like getting to play with other people your own age, I feel like that really instilled in me at a young age that, music is about community, especially this music, and it's about, creating things with other people. And just like sharing the space, like trying to like, okay, how do we play this song together? Like, how do we come together and like make this happen? So that I had some really, I had some really great mentors there. People like Jane Fair, that was my first teacher, and also very cool to have a woman role model at that age, So it kind of felt like I was exposed to that when I was so young. It was like, okay, like there's women who are doing this, here's like an awesome saxophone player who's, teaching us how to play music. So it was the type of thing that at that age you're not totally cognizant of anyway, but just to like see a woman in that role was really awesome. And then, my dad, I think he tried his best to teach me. I don't know how receptive I was to that though. I think it was definitely a point of contention for sure. But, you know, I think as I got older, he got a little bit sneakier about it. And, you know, I would be practicing at home and I'd be working on a tune and he'd kind of come down and say, hey, like, have you thought about, like, you know, these changes? And he would sit down and play some piano and we would play together. So I feel like my way of learning music always felt very natural. It was like, it was about playing. It was about, like, the practicality of, like, what would I be doing if I was playing this music with other people. So it wasn't as theoretical in a sense, which I really appreciate the older and older I get.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And it's a random question now. What type of music were you guys listening to when you grew up?
A lot of jazz, obviously. You know, I could list my dad's influences, but I don't need to. But, you know, like, obviously we would have artists like Coltrane or Bird or Sonny Rollins kind of, like, playing around the house. I think my mom's music tastes and still tend to be a little bit more diverse. And I think that she wanted to be sure that she, you know, kind of like, hey, you can check this out too. Like, there are other styles of music.
Right.
You know, my dad was and is very focused on jazz, and, you know, that's what he loves, and that's what he does. And I think that my mom really exposed me to, like, different styles of music. And I think even with all of that, it took me a long time to really have my own relationship with music, where it was like, okay, like, I can accept this influence from these two pillars in my life, but then I can also, like, go and seek out my own things and, like, find my own relationship and connection to this music. So, you know, I listened to a lot of jazz, obviously, from a young age, but I was also listening to tons of other styles of music, like, kind of everything under the sun, like, and still to this day, you know, like, I love classical music. My partner's super into opera, so I've really gotten into that more recently. And we live, like, down the street from the Met in New York, and, you know, they have, like, a rush ticket deal. So we'll go whenever we can. And I was listening to, like, a lot of, like, soul music, R&B, like, classic rock, and that was definitely my mom's influence. You know, old country music. It was kind of like I wanted to be, like, anything that I could get my hands on, I wanted to listen to.
Amazing.
And just try to be, like, a sponge for anything and everything.
And so clarinet was your first instrument?
Recorder.
Me too.
That was, like, my gateway. Gateway instrument.
I feel like it's the gateway for everyone. Regardless if they play
and, like,
North
American like, music education.
Amazing. And did you ever experiment with any other instruments?
I think there were a lot of questions about, like, do you want to play sax? And I think that had to do with, you know, the practicality. When I got a bit older, it was kind of like, okay, wow, there's really not too many examples of, like, jazz clarinet players. And a lot of them existed, it felt, in a time that was very removed. When I was, like, 15 years old, it was like, wow, these, you know, these recordings are from, like, the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s. It took me a longer time to feel like I could relate to that music. And I think because of that, you know, people around me, you know, maybe you would, like, get some more work if you played sax. Like, are you sure about this? So, you know, I thought about that for some time. I definitely dabbled a little bit. I played some alto saxophone. I played some tenor. But by that point, I was kind of in my early 20s, and I felt frustrated because I had been playing the clarinet for a long time. At that point, you know, by, like, my short lifespan standard. And I felt that everything that I could do on the clarinet was a struggle on the saxophone. And I think I felt frustrated by that, and I got impatient. And it also felt like it took away from the time that I wanted to spend working on clarinet. So that was kind of short-lived, and I made my peace with that. I don't regret it at all. I think there's 10,000 amazing saxophone players out there, and there's room for that, of course. But like for me, it just felt like this is not what I see myself doing as like my personal voice. And then same thing, I've played some bass clarinet, and I work with a great bass clarinet player. We have a project together. His name is Todd Marcus. Amazing. And, I've been exposed to a lot of great bass clarinetists, and same thing, like I kind of got a horn thinking like, okay, like I can maybe use this as a secondary voice for my own music. And man, that thing is hard to play. I thought that the clarinet, like the B flat soprano clarinet was hard, but when I started playing bass clarinet, it was like, I give up. I quit. You guys got it. So, that was something that I was doing some work on for a while, but I kind of, I leave that to the masters at this point.
Well, no, you on clarinet sounds amazing.
Thank you.
So you mentioned you did the Humber Community Music School. You also attended Humber's Bachelor's of Music. How was that program for you?
It was great in a lot of ways. School was always something that I struggled with. I think especially once I got into high school and onwards. I think that I had a hard time and still struggle with doing things that I'm not completely interested in. I think I knew at that age that I really only saw myself playing music. And not that I was serious at that point when I was in high school, but I kind of knew that was what it was going to be for me.
Right.
And so everything else kind of just like fell somewhere to the wayside. I think, just as a result of that and maybe the type of person I am, being at Humber at the time was great just in terms of the program. I think one of the things that I took the most out from my time there was just the connections that I was able to make, both with the students who were there at the time. There were some really like peers of mine have gone on to like be really, really great musicians and just like doing their own thing. And, I love to see some of my friends who I still work with have all of this success. And also I made a lot of great connections with faculty there. People who I still play with. One name that comes to mind is like David Acapinti, whose band I still play, and we actually just played last night at Harut. Great restaurant and music venue in the east end of the city. But he was someone who I met as a student, and at the time, I don't think it's funny, like looking back on it, I think that great musicians are able to see potential in people, or see like what they could be, in a way that sometimes we're not even able to see or realize yet. So I'm grateful, he took a chance on like hiring me in his band, and we've done a lot of work together. So that's been an important thing, I think, just in my career, is getting to play with some of these amazing students who I was at school with, and also faculty. So that part of it I enjoyed a lot. I had some great teachers, people like Pat LaBarbera, who I took private lessons with for basically the whole time I was there. And he was such a fountain of knowledge. It was like every week I would go in and it was like, have you heard this recording? And it wasn't just like older stuff. It was like he was always checking out new music as well.
Awesome.
And I really respected that. And I feel like that in itself taught me a lot, that this older, really established musician is still like listening and like checking out new musicians on the scene. It was like there's always something new to listen to and take in and learn from. So I respected him for that so much.
Awesome.
So,
so before we get to your feature in Discover Women in Jazz, between you leaving school and you coming and doing that concert here in 2023, you've been a part of a few different supergroups, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Do you want to let us know a little bit about that?
I've been in... It's funny, like, I never expected to work as a side person.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'm playing jazz clarinet. The reality is I'm probably going to work more as a band leader because, you know, people wanted a more traditional lineup for their own music. I think that a lot of people, and still envision, you know, maybe more of like a tenor, trumpet, trombone, even frontline. So it just wasn't in my mind that I would work as a side person. So, you know, once I got out of school, I was working a lot as a band leader and, you know, working around Toronto locally. And I think just through doing that and being out on the scene and playing, you kind of cultivate a type of confidence in playing your own music and writing your own music. It's like, okay, like, wow, maybe I do have something interesting to offer or say, you know, and I encourage anyone who plays music to do that, to spend that time being a band leader and, you know, just really focus on your own vision. But I think through doing that, it was like, okay, like maybe I'm starting to establish my voice more. And I think that I've been really lucky to, you know, be hired by some incredible musicians to play and work on their own projects. I do a lot of work with a great trombonist out of Michigan, Michael Dees. I think I've been on 3-4 of his albums at this point, so we've collaborated a lot. I work with another great trumpet player, Joe Bagdarelli, in New York. We've done a few tours of Europe with our like co-led project. People like Dick Oates, I've played with his band. Kirk Lightsey in Paris. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun. You know, a lot of these people were heroes to me growing up. It was like I grew up listening to their music and their albums. So, you know, the chance to work with people like that is still like, I try to just remember that and be grateful, you know, and I'm grateful anyway. Like, it's like I love what I do and I get to do it, and that's good enough for me. But
amazing. So in 2023 we finally had you here leading your own concert. So what was happening in your career around that time?
That was an interesting period of my life. I think it was very transitionary for me, and I think there were some, you know, things that were happening in my personal life too, that, you know, like my dad at the time was sick. You know, he's okay now, but it was, you know, there was a lot happening. And I remember that, like, the summer of 2023, I had just moved. Like, it was just like so many things that were happening. And it's kind of funny how life moves that way. Like, it's like there was a lot of good things that were kind of starting to come together, but then there was a lot of tough things in my life. So, you know, I think just in my life, but also in my career, it was like a very just like middle point, like in between spaces. So, you know, for me, music has always been a way of, I don't think escape is the right word, because it's not escapism, but it's just like an outlet, and it's a way of, you know, I think being in the moment, which I really like as a person who's kind of like always in the future or in the past with my brain. But it's like music just kind of allows you to focus in on what's happening in the moment. So that concert at the time, it was great to kind of put together a group of some of my favorite musicians in the city and play together, and, you know, play some of my music as well, that I had been writing for, you know, some years at that point. so yeah, it was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And was it last year that you helped us out with selecting artists?
Yes.
It was last year,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really nice to have you a part of that process.
It was good to be part
a bit
of
of a
it.
full circle moment.
Yeah, definitely. And like just on that, like it's very cool to have these options, you know, to be on the panel for something like the Discovered Women in Jazz series. You know, like I don't even think that there were options that I could think of when I was a younger musician. Like when I was in my early 20s, when I was in college, it was like there were so few people that I felt that I could look to as examples of like women playing jazz. You know, so just to like be able to like go through the applications and like sit down with the panel that we worked with, it was like, wow, like, you know, there's so many great women now in Toronto who are like doing these creative things and like working with their own projects in different capacities. And, you know, that makes me really, really happy to see. It's cool. Amazing. Very cool.
And I think before we started, you mentioned your debut album.
Yes.
You recorded that in 2024.
Yeah, in the summer of 2024.
Yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about the recording process?
Yeah. So, it's mostly, the album is mostly original music. It's six compositions of mine, and then 2 standards, 2 ballads. I love ballads. I love playing ballads. And it's a band of musicians who I'd worked with but kind of brought together for the purpose of the album. Jeffrey Keyser on piano, who's someone who I actually met when I was at Humber College. He was there as a guest artist, and we got to play together. And then down the line, it's funny how these things work. About 4 or 5 years later, Michael Dees hired me to come do the Detroit Jazz Festival with his band and record an album. And Jeffrey was on those 2 gigs.
Amazing.
So we met at that point, and, you know, we stayed in touch a little bit. So I thought of him instantly for the album. And again, like someone who had been such a hero of mine, like absolutely incredible musician. And then Ira Coleman on bass, same thing, really incredible human being and bass player. Has played with everyone from Sting to Tony Williams to Dee Dee Bridgewater. And, you know, I had been working more in Montreal and Ottawa, and he's out there at McGill now in Montreal.
Awesome.
And so I had 1 or 2 gigs, I think, in that area back in maybe 2021, 2022. And I was trying to put together a band, and I was asking my friend Sam Kermeyer, who was on guitar, like, oh, like who should I get on bass? And he said, you know, you could ask Ira. And I was thinking, oh my God, there's no way. Like he's not going to want to like come do my little gig in like Ottawa. But, you know, he said yes. And that kind of started us like working together and having a great working relationship. And he's just such a gracious musician and human. So Jeffrey and Ira had also known each other previously, so it was great to have them kind of like reconnect on the recording.
Awesome.
And then my good friend and also incredible drummer Curtis Noasad is the one playing drums on the album, originally from Winnipeg, but living in New York for a long time. And that just felt like a good fit, you know, for me, and like thinking about who I want to work with. There's so many incredible musicians out there. You know, there's no shortage nowadays of people who can play their instruments and play music. But it's important for me to find a group of people who are going to not only mesh with each other, but just like be easy to work with and be kind people, be professional, and not be jerks. I had another word in mind, but I'm not going to say it. But yeah, so that worked really well. We recorded in, I believe, July of 2024. And yeah, it's great to finally have the music out there in the world. It's really exciting.
And
exciting for me.
I think you'd mentioned when you did Discover Women in Jazz, you got to perform music you'd been writing for a few years. So how long has that album sort of been in your mind before you recorded it?
It's been in my mind for quite some time, but it just never felt like the right time to do it. I was busy, you know. I feel very lucky. Like, it was like I had so much going on, and I started touring more, and just spending more time on the road. And I just felt like I was not quite at the place musically or artistically that I wanted to be at either. So it felt like the right time. I think my label had a big part in that. The album's on Cellar Music, great label, out of Vancouver, headed by Corey Weeds, also a great musician. And he kind of approached me about doing something, like, you know, making a CD for the label. And I thought, okay, this is it, you know, like, let's make this happen, you know? So I think just having people there who support your music and your vision is like really, really helpful. Because it's not easy what we do, you know? So just to have someone there just kind of like backing it and saying, okay, like, I think this is worth it. I think that was like enough to push me.
Amazing.
Like,
and we're quickly running out of time. You have a album release.
I do.
Party show.
Party.
We'll call it a party.
Why not?
Happening next week. I'm sure you'll mention a little bit about this at the party, but I did want to ask you. The title of the album is In Search Of. So can I ask you, what were you in search of?
That's
and
a very
did you find
good
it?
question. Did I find it? That kind of comes, so the title track on the album is called In Search Of. And that was a song that I think I wrote maybe in like 2022. I feel bad because the answer's not that deep, first of all. But that was like a song that I wrote, and I had a vibe, I had a feeling, but I could not place what I wanted to call it or name it. And it kind of became a joke, like, in my band. What I would do at gigs was ask audience members, like, hey, like, do you have an idea? Like, what does this song make you feel? What is the vibe? What does this evoke for you? And I got I just want to say some really weird ones, and I'm not going to name, I'll tell you after.
Okay,
But, you know, finally, like, one person came up to me and was like, it feels like you're searching for something. Like, you're, like, looking for something, and seeking something. So I kind of went with that.
No, it's beautiful.
And it's like, very, I don't know. It's like
introspective.
It's what we're doing, right? Like, we're always like searching for something in the music that we play. So that's
all right. Before next week, we'll write something up, come up with a deep backstory for it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So I mean, since then you've been very busy. Moved to New York. Gigging as a band leader, as a side person as well. What time considering, I won't ask you all the amazing stuff that you've done since then, but what are some cool projects that you're working on now?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just finished recording a new album with the Canadian Jazz Collective. Another great band that I'm part of. Some incredible musicians from here. So that should be coming out at some point. I recorded an album last winter with Dick Oates and Joe Magnarelli. And that should be coming out hopefully this year as well. And then another really exciting project I was part of, with Michael Dees again, was a double big band record where I was a guest alongside Dr. Eddie Henderson.
Amazing.
So I think that's coming out this fall, but also doing a lot of stuff with my own band, a project that I co-lead with Baltimore-based clarinet player Todd Marcus.
Right.
So we'll be doing a tour this summer and also coming to Toronto, playing 4 nights at the Rex in August.
What dates?
Oh, no. I think the 4th to the 9th. I want to say.
Let me see. Your calendar says
it's
the 5th.
The 5th to the 9th. Yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah.
5th to the 8th.
5th. Okay.
5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Yeah. That's 4 days.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah. So that's happening. And just kind of doing some album release concerts over the next few months. So, here at the Bistro, the Jazz Bistro, on July 3rd and 4th with my quartet, Jean-Michel Pilk from Montreal, Neil Swainson on bass, and Adam Aruda, originally from Toronto, but also living in New York for a long time.
Where can people get tickets for that?
On the Jazz Bistro website, you can find more information, but I think you can call and you can make a reservation if you'd like. But yeah, that's kind of like a overview of stuff that's happening.
And something that I like to ask everyone that we talk to, you teach, so I'm sure you do this all the time. But if you could give your younger self some advice, what would it be?
Oh, wow. What would it be? Don't be so scared, I think, of what people think. I think just be more confident in who you are and put yourself out there. I think we're taught especially in Western music education, like that it's better to assimilate and kind of be the same in terms of like how you play music, how you approach music, how you approach art. What I used to think were my weaknesses, because they were differences, I now recognize as being strengths. But I think that took a lot of time and like unprogramming in my brain to do. What I wish I had known earlier is that we have something, all of us, to offer instead of prove. Just put yourself out there, I think, is what I would say to myself.
Amazing. And what is the best way for people to keep up with you?
I have to plug my website. My mom is a web designer and she designed it, so she would be very angry if I didn't.
It looks really good.
I know, she killed it. Yeah. She continues to kill it. It's virginiamacdonald.ca. And then social media, I think all of my handles are Verge FM. So you can find me there. And then if you want to listen to my new album, it's on all of the streaming platforms, services. You can buy it on Bandcamp as well, which is always nice if you feel like buying music. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I have any more questions for you.
Awesome.
And I know you're very busy. So once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jelani.
And if we have any questions, I don't know if we did, but we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for coming.
And
thank you for tuning in. This has been Where Are They Now with Jazz FM.